All right, Robbie. So you want to talk about the Summer Olympics is officially a go after 1 year delay. Tell us what's up.
Well, as you were just saying, late March of 2020, the Olympic Games in Tokyo were put on hold due to growing concerns over the COVID-19 virus. But now these games are set to open on July 23rd in just a couple of months. So a year ago, only 23% of Japanese citizens wanted the Olympics to take place in their country the following summer. And recent polls show that approximately 60% of the Japanese people want the Olympic Games canceled altogether, not postponed, canceled. So,
Damn.
my question to the panel is, would you invite the rest of the world to your capital city during a pandemic? And should necessary medical personnel be reallocated to the Olympic venue?
Hmm. So why don't we start out with let's start with Liz on this one. Let's start on Liz. Liz on this. What do you think, Liz?
I mean, I don't want to invite the outside world to my city pre-pandemic without a pandemic. Like, I understand I live in a very tourist
Especially
city, the
DC.
nation's Washington D.C., but they get on my nerves. They occupy all the space, and they're very rude. So I wouldn't want them here regardless. However, I understand what the people of Tokyo are dealing with. This is something that has been planned in the works for at least, I want to say, before the pandemic, at least a decade.
Yeah.
It's to pick an Olympic city, an Olympic host city, is not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of
Mhm.
planning. There's a lot
A lot
of
of
bidding.
money,
There's a lot of bribes that go into this.
bribes. Yes.
Um, so I get it, but I don't. Do I think it's too fast? Yeah, I do. I do think it's too fast. I do think that they are just trying to, like, okay, a couple of people have been vaccinated. Some of the numbers have been, better than what they were this time last year. However, they're not paying attention to the fact that there's been a recent surge in Japan, in Tokyo, in the COVID numbers. There's been a state of emergency, until the end of May, which is what, this coming weekend, this coming next Monday, if you will, for Tokyo, as it relates to the COVID virus. So all is not well over there. And you really want to bring in, we're not talking about bringing in just some folks from, Canada, the US. We're talking about bringing in people from all over the world. And the fact that they are not mandating that everyone should be vaccinated. So I'm just like, if I'm living in Japan, I'm just like, okay, they're setting me up. They're setting us up, for the sake of some dollars and for, a tournament, if you will. And I get it. I understand. As a sports journalist, I understand the athlete's position as it relates to this issue. The Olympics was supposed to be held last summer in Japan, and it got postponed because of the pandemic. Fast forward to 2021. My thing is, why didn't they fast forward it to 2022?
Mm.
Like, give everyone a ample amount of time, some breathing room, if you
Yeah.
will. Now everything seems so rushed, so rushed. And if the numbers drop, like I said, the numbers are rising. If the numbers, the Olympics are, in July. If the numbers aren't any better, are they still gonna, hold these games? What are they gonna do then? Like, it's insane. And just so we're clear, we all know what happens in the Olympic Village. There's a lot of intermingling in the. There's a lot of bumping
Intermingling. There is.
That's true.
in the Olympic
Wh-
Village without any mask, without any condoms,
When you
without
when
any protection.
yeah, when you
Like,
say intermingling, we're talking what did what did Olivia say?
Relations.
Mixing DNAs. She said
Yeah.
walking
swapping
DNAs,
DNA.
Swapping
there's
DNAs.
a
Yep.
lot of that going. So it has the potential to be another spreader. And so I don't know what the rush is. I get it for some of the athletes who are at the last moment of their career. They might not be able to compete in 2022. But we've all sacrificed
Mm-hmm.
during this
Yes.
pandemic. So Yeah, I would postpone it 100%. 100%. And I say this as someone who is excited that I'm even watching sports right now again. But I would postpone it. I would
John,
postpone it.
Johnny, your thoughts?
No, I definitely agree. I feel like majority rules in this case, and even the people. I think, Rob, your question: would I want it? Would I want people from around the? I personally would not, and the Japanese people don't either. So I feel like just respect their wishes. Some of the Olympians are even saying, I think the athletes. I said it wrong. Sorry. Some of the athletes are even saying that they would, although this is there's something they've been training for years, they still would rather take the precaution and just postpone it. So I agree. In short.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we're turning the corner on the pandemic, at least here in the U.S. I know it's not happening in other countries, and I know it's not happening in
Yeah, other
Tokyo.
places.
But one of the things is I feel like we've learned a lot about how to handle the pandemic in terms of making sure we're protected, making sure we're doing the right things. You can't control people, like Lizzie says, people will intermingle and do their things. But we do know what we should and should not be doing. And,
Yeah.
it's sort of like those parties we were talking about in one of the previous shows. Yeah, you can hold um, the host of the party accountable, sure. But you guys, and many of you guys were stating that it's really not the host, it's the individuals, the people attending. If you feel unsafe for some reason, or you feel like you can't manage the people, or you can't manage your situation, your area around you, then don't go. I mean,
I did.
countries can opt out. You
With
can
the
choose to opt
Olympics,
out. You can choose.
I I think a government
Countries can
has
opt out.
I think a government has a larger responsibility than me as an individual trying to have a party at my house. The government knows that they have citizens, they have constituents in their state that they are responsible for. That's what they do. That is their duty. And to pretend like this isn't an issue, to pretend like this isn't rising, to pretend like you haven't, at the very least, demand that your athletes that come to your country be vaccinated. But even with that, I posted this on the TLS Facebook page earlier this week. There is, in the United States, in Washington, D.C., Washington Nationals baseball team, fully vaccinated baseball player who contracted COVID.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
oh wow.
there's still a lot that's going on with this. And so now you have athletes who may have been vaccinated, who may not have been
And
vaccinated,
asymptomatic as well.
Yes.
he was
Yep.
asymptomatic, which also is problematic, right? And so you have all of these, you have
Yeah.
thousands of athletes, converging, coming into your country. Not only are they putting themselves at risk, but also your citizens at risk. I think that's huge. And it's not like we can't have this in 2022.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We
The venue,
can decide.
exactly. The venue's still going to be there. If they've invested in new infrastructure, it's still going to be there in 2022.
I,
And the
I
crux
think I
problem
think
is
we're all
that
adults.
the Olympic officials have said that they need approximately 10,000 medical workers to staff the games. Meanwhile, nurses and medical staff are saying that they're already near a breaking point of dealing with the coronavirus pandemic in their country. So to invite everyone from the rest of the world is completely irresponsible and reprehensible. This is not the time to do it, and it needs to be postponed. Neil, I can appreciate what you're saying that the US is maybe turning a corner when it comes to the pandemic. Well, the US is going to be having a surplus, it has a surplus of vaccines because of the amount of people who refuse to take the
Not getting
vaccine, but
vaccinated.
you're nowhere near the numbers for herd immunity yet. And you are doing better than most countries internationally. So You can't do it right now. And I understand that there's
But
significant
what do
investment
we
to
know
bring the
about
games and to
2022 that
build
makes
the
it
venue.
different than right
That
now? I
makes
mean,
a change. I'm thinking that too. Yeah.
because
Like
you don't,
More
it's
people
because again, we
vaccinated,
have
it's the
variants, we have
numbers.
other things. Really, it's going to come down to people being safe because the vaccine is just because Lizzie suggested that, hey, if they come into our place, they should be vaccinated. That doesn't guarantee, you've already proven that doesn't guarantee anything. On top of that, there are variants going out there. So at what point going
I think
forward
that
do we
I think
say that it's going to be okay to get together and do things because COVID's not going away?
this
COVID
this
is,
just this isn't just getting
the
together and
vaccine
doing
isn't
things.
100% answer.
This isn't just getting together, having a party in your backyard. This is an international event where you're inviting thousands of people from all over the world, some who may be vaccinated, some who may not
They
be
should put
vaccinated.
protocols in place and have the thing.
And so I think it's a simple
Neo's like
to
final
say
thought.
what's the difference between 2021 and 2022? What's the
The
difference
NBA
between 20?
proved protocols work.
What's the difference between 2020 and 2021? More advancement, more.
I mean, 20 and
more
21, yeah, sure.
but that's the same going into 2021 and 2022. There's more
More
advancement.
But we
advancement.
understand it well enough
But
to
it's not
protect ourselves
guaranteed.
now. And all they have to do is put the
Guaranteed.
proper protocols in place and it can happen just fine.
That's mandatory. Again, we're not talking about this is the Olympics. It's not mandatory. It can happen at any given moment. This is a sporting event. Okay? Like none of us die if we don't have the Olympics in July 2020. And I say this as a sports journalist. We're not going to die if we hold off on the Olympics for another year.
What
I
happens
was
to the every 4 years? Does that change because it's now like pushed back
I mean,
to
there are a significant number of people that have trained for this Olympics, and another year from now, they will not be able to compete at the same level.
Yeah, they won't. They won't. It's different.
Again,
Rob
That's the
said.
nature of competition.
and that's not.
But they're not able to compete.
But
That's the nature of
Dang.
competition.
pandemic. We're in a pandemic. You adjust to the medical issue at hand.
If
Not
they would
oh,
just
we go to
protocols work.
this particular athlete won't be able to compete. That's ridiculous. That's
All right,
ridiculous.
let's get to. We went over time on this one. Let's get to our comments on
I
it.
was watching this morning, watching earlier today at the playoff game with the Wizards and the 76ers, a near full arena. A near full arena.
Protocols work.
No
He
mask
said
on.
protocols.
You're not going to be able to stop someone from getting sick. It's not possible. COVID is here to stay.
But you can
Like the
stop
flu.
how those people enter your venue. Because if you look at the hockey game, the Caps hockey game that's going to happen tonight at 7:00, it's not going to be a full arena. It's not.
Look,
So
you
there's
may
a
have
difference.
okay, in that full arena, you may have 10 people get sick, 20 people get sick. That is the nature going forward of this
10
what we're
people
going
that
to
get
have to
that
deal
can
with.
avoid 10
This
people
is
that
what
get
we're
sick
gonna-
avoid it. They go home, they get 10 other people sick. They get 100 other people sick. And again, for the Olympics, we're talking about international people coming in. We don't know what they're coming in with.
That's true.
But that's
I forget the
always going to be the
international
case,
part.
is what I'm saying. You're always going to be dealing with that. And you're always going to need protocols.
But that's why you wait. Like, what is the rush? What is the rush
That's-
for 2021?
So
There
if
is
we
no
keep
rush.
Yeah, there's
if
no
we
rush.
keep
There's no
if we
technical rush.
keep gathering in these numbers and the virus keeps mutating, Neo, then the final solution is going to be basically the
All right, let's get
screenplay
to our
to
comments.
Contagion.
We got to get to the next one.
Contagion.
Okay, we got to get to our next topic. Let's get to the comments.
That was true. That's gonna.
All right. So, Sonia C. Elias
Sonia,
Cueto. I believe people who have been vaccinated should still be tested. Vaccination doesn't equal immunity. And I agree, we're in a pandemic. Forget the Olympics. Kevin Thaxton, it's a bragging rights set of games, not that important. The Olympic Committee doesn't have a medical section that can manage the amount of athletes that will attend the game.
Well said. Well said.
Mike Wolf. But of course, thousands of journalists, including NBC broadcast staff, all over the place. True. How would the athletes feel about being confined to the Olympic Village?
I would not go if I was still working for, an entity that said, "Okay, you're on Olympic duty." Hell no, I'm on Olympic duty from Washington. I'm not going to Tokyo. I'm barely leaving my house in DC. You think I'm going to Tokyo?
Jacqueline Ruff says, I remember how shocked we were at some of the unsanitary conditions in the Olympic Village in Rio. Rio de
Thank
Janeiro.
you. Pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Rio was a cesspool of nonsense.
And before we move on, I just want to point out to the previous, to our conversation about who gets thrown out the airlock, my father said, what it is what it is. Dead.
Oh my God. Neil is just
He's just throwing people out too.
Wow.
Right.
You know,
Right.
even Sophie had to make a tough choice. So, I mean,
Sophie's choice.
Don't be a stowaway.
All right. Y'all protecting people with the pandemic, though. All right, so.
Hell yeah.
All right, so what do we call this? Truth, lies, or is this shenanigans, guys? Truth, lies, or shenanigans?
It's
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. The first thing that comes to my head.
I think, yeah, it's shenanigans. I'm going with shenanigans with you guys. All right, so we are on to the